Hello everyone and welcome. In this video, I'll be showing you all my process for making the express coaches, and how you can too. So let us begin. The first thing you do with your coaches is paint the roofs and the ends black. As you can see here, I've already done mine. After you've completed that part, up next is to paint the walls. I will be using red as it is the last coach I need for my red express coaches. But it is up to you to use whatever color you need for your coaches. Once you've got your color, you completely paint each side, making sure you don't see what's underneath anymore. I had to apply about 7 or 8 coats to this, to make sure I couldn't see the decals underneath. And it's very important that you let each coat dry completely before you apply the next one. Also, I didn't realize it at first, but I accidentally used the wrong red. So it ended up being brighter than the rest of my coaches, so I had to repaint the whole thing. That is why you make sure that you have the right shade. The amount of coats of paint may vary between which type of paint you're using. After you finish putting on the red and letting it dry, you're going to put on the masking tape to get the coaches ready for the cream or the white of the coach. While you do this, make sure you do it in the direct center of the coach. That way the yellow line can go straight through. And if you have previous coaches, you can use those for reference, showing you where the yellow line is. After you set your masking tape on the coaches, it's time to apply the second color. Here I am using antique white, as it matches best for the cream color of the coaches. For this color I only applied about 3 coats, but you may have to do more or less depending on which paint you are using. And be careful not to get too much paint on the black. Once you finish and let it dry, it's time to take off the masking tape. Depending on how well you've put it on, it should reveal a perfectly straight line. And that line is what you're going to use for painting the yellow later on. And you shouldn't have to worry about the little divots of white that got onto the red, as they'll be covered up later by the yellow. And as for the larger divots, those are to be painted over again, with more crimson or red paint. Unfortunately, some of the red paint came off. And these are the bigger splotches that I'm talking about, where the white got onto the red, past the masking tape. But we are going to fix that. After those steps are done, you are to paint the yellow line on the middle, following where you have masked it off with the masking tape. And to follow it, you have to use a toothpick or a very thin paintbrush. From here on out, you'll need a lot of patience with what you're doing. Keep yourself as steady as you can to put on the yellow paint. Once you have finished with that, now it's time for the most difficult part of painting these coaches, the windows and the doors. For this, you'll be needing a ruler and a pencil to mark out where each thing is. The first thing you'll mark is the line on the top, which will be used for the big windows and the top of the doors. This line has about 1 millimeter of space in between the roof and where the line actually is. It's easier to do it on a flat surface, but I'm only doing it like this to show you how to do it. After drawing the line on both sides, we are going to outline the doors and the windows. Here I'll be showing you the measurements of each side and showing you how to paint them. I recommend that you start the side with more windows first, and so it'll be easier to do the bigger ones afterwards. For the doors, the width is 6 millimeters, and start with 3 millimeters of space between the end of the coach and the end of the door. For drawing the doors, use the ruler as best you can to draw it straight down. The wheels might end up blocking you from using it, so do your best to draw it from the line all the way to the bottom. As for the windows, each window is 5 millimeters, with 2 millimeters of space between the door and the end of the window, and between each pair of windows is 3 millimeters of space. Once you have completed all of the sets of windows and doors, we are going to move on to painting. As I've said before, you're going to need a toothpick, or a very thin paintbrush. In order to get these coaches precisely painted, you must be as careful as you can. Try to be as steady as you can as well. You don't have to worry about it looking perfect, just try the best you can to having it inside lines. Even if you do end up having a few mistakes, you don't have to worry, as once you're done with all the windows, it'll look the best you've ever seen. As for the other side, the doors are the same, But for the windows, they're a little bit different than the other side. Once you've drawn the door on the end, you're going to draw the window 1 millimeter from the door and 14 millimeters in length. The rest of the coach is the same process, as we do the same thing over. This is more or less how it should look once you have completed drawing each of the doors and windows on this side. And after, we'll move on to finishing the rest of the coach. And here is the finished product. This is how it should look once you have fully completed painting and drawing everything on this coach. I really do hope this helps you in making your own coaches, and I thank you for watching this process of me making my coaches. And now here's the completed tray with all 3 of my custom Red Express coaches. I really do hope you do well on your custom Express coaches. Thank you all for watching.